right, Impact Wrestling. We don't need to be long on this show. We got 3 distinct storylines and 1 question. Let's go through what we got. Casey Navarro versus Mike Santana. That story is one of those 3 stories right now that they're trying to see what is going to happen with Mike Santana dealing with First Class. Casey did a good job. He was good, and the gunshot, those gunshot chops were so loud. I know people's ears popped when they heard those suckers go off because they was going off. But in the end, Santana won. But the question now is how far they're going to go with the storyline with Santana dealing with AJ Francis and KC. Don't know. I don't know if it's a good story, but it is a story that TNA is pushing. Next, we get an Alan Angels return with AJ Chris, dealing with Trey and pretty much Zach. And it wasn't a bad match. There was no problem, but there was nothing really connecting it. There was no story behind it. It was just a good match, which now Rascals won. Don't know where they're going to go with it, but this is what we got. Next, the next storyline we got. We got a 6-man tag. Gresham, Eric Young, Macklin versus the Northern Armory. Now that all the people are in position, the question's going to be, in this situation, can Macklin keep himself under control? And he could not. It was a good match. The person to me that shined the best was Jonathan Gresham. I've said this for a while. Jonathan, they should have done more with Jonathan. And when he did that black squid ink thing, that looked like it went absolutely nowhere, but they didn't even try to finish it, or at least try to flesh it out a little bit more before they just dropped it, we get a default Jonathan Gresham. He's a great wrestler. But the problem is there's no real story for him. And that is a problem. He should be in the damn X Division, but, of course, Moose has the title, and guess what? He ain't gonna get it. And I will talk about the system in a minute. But let's make this clear. This story, at least part of the story, was about not about Jonathan Gresham, not about Josh Alexander. This was about Steve Macklin not trusting anybody, and only thing he wanted to do was get his hands on Josh Alexander. He wasn't paying attention to his partners, and due to the fact of how things went, it failed. And it is Eric Young that's telling him, you need to straighten this out. Because Jonathan Gresham said, look, I got your back if you got mine. He made it very clear. Because Eric Young tried to make him help to try and talk some sense in Steve Macklin, but that did not happen. Steve Macklin had to be talked to by Eric. Eric made it very clear, this is a you problem. You know better than anyone when you're in a real hole, a foxhole, which is like a World War II reference. But it still is relevant in military terms. But when you're in trouble, you need to follow the rule of what it means to be a freaking Marine. You work together to get the problem solved. That is what Eric Young was trying to say to him. Look, you know better than anybody what it means to be in danger, to have to rely on your brothers. Brothers in arms. This is a you problem. You must figure this out. Or you're never going to get your hands on Eric. Not Eric. No. The reason that I'm botching here is the question is how far they're going to push Eric trying to mentor Steve Macklin, and how far Steve Macklin is going to go off the rails before he finally gets his hands on a Josh Alexander. Will he be crazed Steve Macklin? Will he be a more military version of Steve Macklin that he knows he's got 2 guys on the side that will work with him, and he will get what he wants. He wants to get his hands around the neck of a Josh Alexander and beat his ass. That's where it comes down to. I think it would be interesting to have a Full Metal Mayhem match between the 6. Or better yet, something we haven't seen in a long time, a lockdown match. I think that would be the best thing for all of them. If at Final Resolution, we get a lockdown match. Something I think we haven't done in years. I don't remember the last lockdown match that happened. It has been maybe near a decade. I can't remember, you guys can tell me below. I don't remember. It could have been '07. It could have been 2013. I don't remember. It's been a while since we had a lockdown match. And I would like to see it, not a Monsters Ball match or Steel Cage match, not a Full Metal Mayhem match, a lockdown match. I truly believe that might be the best option. Rosemary. There's no story for Rosemary. None. Now, Jade Stone is a bit interesting. She has come back and she has, I know I'm skipping over the system, but I got to a little bit. But I want to make this clear. I don't know where they're going with Rosemary. I just wanted to reference this. She won the match. She gave a kiss to the head of Jada, but I don't know where they're going with her. She's already beaten a Wendy. I don't know where they're going. Now, the system. I didn't see the system segment. I actually had to go to the bathroom. But I did see when they showed a short little snippet of it with their system rings honoring themselves now that a Moose has won the X Division, which is the first time he ever won it because he's been a 2-time Grand Slam champion. He has been now a 2-time TNA champion. Now, he is an X Division champion. Great. Now they got these rings. But what does this really mean for the system? What do we really get for the system having these rings? It's going to be a big question. What does this really mean? I don't know. We'll find out eventually if it means anything. It may not mean anything. They're just doing it because they wanted to do it. But you never know. Now, what can I say about the Kaz segment with Rhino? It's not for the Call Your Shot Gauntlet Cup. It's not there. Not part of it. So there's no real story there. Yeah, Rhino is a TNA champion, TNA legend, and a Hall of Famer. Yes. But he's not getting a shot at the champion. He's not going after the cup. So there's no story there. It's more like just wanted to get a match done. And we'll see it soon. Final. Joe Henry. Not the final match. But finally, we go to Joe Henry versus Brian Nimitz. Let me give it to you like this when it comes to Ryan. He is not the bad guy here. He doesn't know what's going on. Why did Laidfield attack him? Attack Joe? He's just acting off of instinct. Joe is acting off of instinct. And that's when we get the culmination of this match. And I'm not surprised Joe Henry won. He was going to. Now, final match. When Ryan was supposed to be there, he got his ass handed to him. He got hurt. So, Joe Henry comes out. He sits at commentary. We have the match between him and Brian Myers. And not him, but Nick Nimitz. We got Eddie Edwards ejected. Then eventually, as the match was going on, we finally got to see Alicia Edwards using a little Kendra to mess with the match. And we get a little Joe Henry taking her out. Eventually, Nick won. I'm not surprised he was going to win. He was going to win. The beatdown happened. Joe comes out with the candlestick. He attacks. He takes out Eddie. He takes out Brian. But he almost nailed Nick. And that is where the little dissension again. Can they coexist type of thing? Neither one of them are bad guys. But they're so untrusting of each other. That's where we're at. And let's make this clear. We have 3 storylines that we're going with. And I'm not forgetting about the talk when there's no real story at the moment when it comes to Alicia trying to get that damn title away from a Marsha Simonovich. The story is more with I'm like at this point, where are we going with the women's division in TNA? I know I can call it knockout, but I'm calling women's just this once because the big question, the one question we have is, where are we going? Look, guys, I know there's more than one storyline I want to make this clear if anyone even watches the rest of this, because they're going to think whatever they're going to think and then do a comment below and have to say, did you watch the rest of the video? I know there's more than one storyline. There's roughly about 5 to 6 storylines. Look, we got Marsha dealing with Jordan Grace. We got Santana dealing with First Class. We got Trent Seven dealing with a Speedball McBailey. That is going to be a very strong storyline because of how they structured it. It's not the greatest storyline there, but it will at least be a decently strong storyline. Macklin with Josh Alexander. And then Nick dealing with Joe Henry. We got 5 basic storylines. I mean, you could say 6 if you count the Hardys and Ace Austin having to deal with Hammerstone and Trent, but then not. Because it's more about Hammerstone and Jake Something wanting to get that damn title from the Hardys. And they're just sticking a Ace Austin there. And I gotta say again, they're still advertising the Ben Buddies for a Chris Bay. And I'm very happy about that. It shows they are dedicated to helping. Now I gotta admit, when you see TKO WWE, when someone gets hurt, when was the last time you heard them actually keep spotlighting someone who's injured? They usually go away and that's it. So I will give them this. But the big question here is, where are we going with this company? I think I may have to. I want to ask you guys, do you want me to do a state of TNA and a state of TKO WWE? Because I'm thinking about doing 2 videos for a Gump Report, each one by themselves. The state of TKO WWE and the state of TNA. I might think of doing an AEW, but I'm not sure because it's still really chaotic there. But the 2 here, they're working together. And you wonder what the hell are they doing? And I don't know. I don't know. As it stands right now, when it comes to TNA, I know people say, dude, what is wrong with you? Why are you watching TNA if you don't like it? Who says I don't? I love TNA. I'm still reporting on TNA. The people in there are working and they're busting their butt. But if you look at the direction of TNA, you wonder what is going on. And if anybody says, well, they're going to be doing this next year, they're going to do that next year, bullshit. Doesn't matter. Who cares about that shit? I've stated it for months from when they first changed over to TNA, when they got rid of Scott D'Amore, whether you like him or not, and when they started working with WWE, and I'm taking out the TKO for the moment, they have done a huge amount of stuff, and yes, they've gotten more when it comes to getting tickets. But when you look at how the company is, it is still a big question of where they're going. And what happens when this collaboration ends? Will they ever get any more than what they are? This is not about them being as big as WWE or AEW. It's not about it. This is about them being themselves. And it's a big question. That's the reason why I'm considering doing a state of TNA and a state in TKO WWE. To give at least a fair assessment of what we've seen in the last near year for TNA. And more than a year for TKO WWE, going when they were WWE before they merged and became TKO. It's been at least a year and a couple of months. I say about 2 or 3 months. A year and 2 or 3 months for TKO. But this is just me. Peace.